Hey, English 111 students, this is Miss Williams. So, just a brief video to help you understand how you're going to do your outline. So, we're really starting that process of our first formal assignment, which is the literacy narrative. Um, we're going to do it step by step, which is how we do all formal assignments in this class. So, we're not talking about what is a word requirement, peer review, all that other stuff. That comes next week. Don't worry about that. We will talk about all of those things next week. Right now, we're just focused on the outline. So, how do you outline a literacy narrative? This is a paper that you guys have never written. It's a new genre for writing for you. So, how do you do this? Well, step by step, this is really what you need to do. And obviously, you need to read through this section of this week's assignments because this is where I go into the detail about what's going to be in your outline. But I just wanted to go through it and talk about it with you a little bit as well. So you've got a list of questions here. Open up a Google Doc. You're not going to turn this into me. This is really just pre-writing for you. Sorry, there's a gnat flying around my face. Answer these questions and just think about them. You've never probably really thought about your literacy before because you haven't had to do an assignment like this. So think about these questions, answer them honestly. Some of you are going to talk about negative experiences you've had with reading, writing, speaking, listening over the years. That's okay. You need to be honest. This is your narrative. This is about you, not only to look back and reflect on literacy so far, but also to think about how you want to continue with literacy in the future. Remember, English 111 and 112 are classes that every freshman has to take. So just because you do not like English doesn't mean you don't have to take English 111. You still have to take this class. You might not be majoring in English in the future. Most of you are not going to, but you still get the opportunity to think about literacy. And if you've had bad experiences with teachers or with English or with books or whatever, you need to be honest about those things. So answer these questions. That's going to help you brainstorm, pre-write, figure out where to go with your outline. And then for your outline, I give you a pretty good template here of what you need to include. This is not going to be a long document. It's not going to have paragraphs on it. Really, you're just going to be figuring out who are your sponsors and events based on these questions that you answered up here. So I want you to have at least 5 to 6 sponsors and events. Those are going to be your main ideas. A sponsor is a person like a parent, grandparent, teacher, tutor, friend, somebody who's had either a positive or negative impact on your literacy. An event is a subject in class, could be a teacher as well. Book series or book that you read, assignment that you had to do, film series that really like made you love story and that got you reading, film or series, television show series, any events that either made you love or hate reading and writing, speaking and listening. Maybe some of you are very introverted. You don't like speaking up in class. So you've really gravitated towards writing because that's how you communicate with people more effectively. So not all of your events and sponsors have to be positive. Maybe they will be, but they don't have to be. So just make sure you're being honest because this is really your narrative. It's your story. It's all about you. Okay, so I've also got my narrative outlined down here as just a guide for you. Obviously, because I am an English major and I'm an English teacher and a writing teacher, I have had a lot of positive experiences. But my first event, my first literacy event, is about my dysfunctional family, which kind of made me want to escape into reading and writing. So there are going to be people there are going to be events and sponsors that are positive. There's going to be events and sponsors that are negative, but you're just going to list those so everybody will have the same purpose, and I give you that purpose. Just copy and paste it. Don't fill out the thesis yet, leave that blank, and then come down here and figure out what your events and sponsors are. So I've got a Roman numeral, my first event, which was my dysfunctional family. They made me want to escape into story. And I just give a couple sentences to just to, back that main event up. I'm not going to write a paragraph. I'm going to expand on these events and sponsors later in my paper, but I do have at least a sentence or two about that event. Another sponsor, my fourth grade teacher, who gave me a book that I loved. It was a book that was a part of a series. So I ended up reading the series, and then I ended up reading more. So that's my second main idea. Another event, a literary contest for me, writing and just letting other people read my writing, which was a huge step for those of us who like to write and sometimes don't really share what we write with other people. And then obviously majoring in English. So that was my next event, my next main idea. And then I go into a little bit of description there. And then my last sponsor, Dr. James McGavran, God rest his soul, he's in heaven. But he was just such an amazing teacher. I have two masters, one in English and one in digital ed, but I absolutely loved, being in grad school in the English department at UNCC, and just had some phenomenal teachers. Had some teachers that were super annoying as well, but they were still really good at what they did. I mean, they were experts at what their content was. And he was by far one of my favorites. So anyway, this is basically what generally y'all's outline should look like. So it's not, it's not paragraphs, it's not a paper yet. Don't write your rough draft yet and put it in the outline discussion board. I just want these things so that I can look at what you're doing and see that you're going in the general right direction you're supposed to be. After you have these main ideas down, then you can kind of go back and figure out what is the guiding idea of my narrative based on what I have down here. And it doesn't have to be super complicated. I have a couple sentences here for my thesis. So make sure you post that in the discussion board. It's due Sunday. You also need to look at a couple of your peers, your classmates' outlines and comment on them. So make sure, again, you look back at those discussion board guidelines so that you can get some ideas on things that you could post in response to them. Maybe you've got similar events and sponsors. Maybe they're very different. But just make sure that you follow the format I have here and post by the end of the day